Painting has always played an important role in Buddhism in Thai. The pictures can tell us not only Buddhism's story, but also Thai people's concept about Buddhism.
Phetchaburi is 100 plus kilometers to the west, southwest. It's an ancient city. There are still many well-preserved temples there. It's a very pleasant city in many ways. It is famous for, especially for its stucco art. And these paintings that I'm going to discuss are, I call them wood panel paintings. In Thai they're called kosong. The paintings come from the end of the 19th, the turn of the 20th century, which was actually a turning moment in art styles in many ways. There was the adoption, it begun earlier already by the mid-19th, adoption of Western techniques and materials side by side with traditional Thai and also Sino-Thai or Chinese style painting. And the arts in general, we might say that, had all of this, so it's a kind of a hybrid art, but not using hybrid in any sort of a pejorative way. So this is was a step into new landscapes for old narratives, but the pre-modern narratives in these paintings remain intact. So it's kind of a juxtaposition, you might say. And I think in that sense the paintings represent one of the last efflorences of the miraculous Buddha. The historical Buddha, or what I call historicist Buddha, was waiting in the wings at that time and being pushed onto the stage by new modes of thought, new understandings of Buddhism. But this is still the miraculous Buddha, by which I mean the Buddha whose biography starts at least in the heaven, and then he descends to earth for his last life and performs many miracles. The paintings have many genre scenes which show the cosmopolitan life of old Siam, transitions in many ways in material culture, in costumes. You still see intricately painted traditional cloths, and Thai painting has always celebrated the patterns and colors of cloth and of clothing and of adornment, jewelry. So that is still there, but also there are Western or modern costumes, uniforms, hats, and so on. The basis of these paintings of the life of the Buddha, the narrative of the Buddha's life of my title, is the Thai work, Thai Pali, Thai language work called the Pathama Sambodhi, if you want to pronounce the Indian way, or the Pathom Sampot in the Thai way. And the Pathom Sampot had many recensions going back perhaps to before Ayutthaya period. Its early origins are obscure. There have been many recensions, perhaps originally going only up to the awakening or the first sermon. But the recension in question here was a 19th century Pali version by the Supreme Patriarch Prince Grompa Paramanuchit Jinarot. And that's, I think, in 29 chapters, is that correct? 29 chapters going up not only to the Nirvana, but also to the distribution of the relics, and then to the time of Asoka and Upagupta. So it's an extended version of the biography of the Buddha. And the identification, I think, in Thai thought of the life of the Buddha with Pathom Sampot is so strong that any pictures of the life of the Buddha seen by Thais will be called Pathom Sampot. Pathom Sampot means the life of the Buddha. And it is an extended life because it actually begins with the wedding of the future Buddha's parents, which I don't think is found in any Indian or other versions, the Vivaha Mangala Parivarta. So the rare moments that I'm going to talk about are things that are not, mostly these are things not normally represented in what we might call, I shouldn't call mainstream Buddhist art perhaps, but not generally represented in other traditions, such as Indian, Tibetan, Chinese, and so on. These are episodes that are more represented in Thai tradition, not even in Burmese tradition. And these episodes are not frequently represented in the Thai tradition itself. So that's an explanation of why they are rare moments. So this is still situated in the late 19th or early 20th century. As I say, you'll see examples of cosmopolitan life, of old Siam, of the costumes and the rich vegetation of the time, and even the landscapes and the animal life. I do not think I'm talking about iconographic transference, but rather about the creation of new representations, visual representations. In fact, the 19th century was a very creative century in Thai art. So this story starts with the wedding, the Vivaha Mangala, and then the Bodhisattva in the Tusita heaven. And that's part of the story of the miraculous Buddha. The historicist Buddha starts in Lumbini and ends with his death. But the miraculous Buddha starts thousands of lives earlier, but in the abbreviated form it starts in Tusita heaven and continues beyond his physical death. Here we do have a scene from Wat Kokeo of the scene in the cycle, sort of the birth cycle. I think the Thai artists, and maybe all artists, like to celebrate the great departure, and the Thai always have it as a very elegant scene, a very prominent scene, with the devas. Not in the early Indian ones in sculpture, the devas are just barely visible at the bottom of the frame, lifting up the horse's hoofs, but here the devas are proudly flying supporting the departing Buddha. And in the center you see Mara trying to stop the Buddha from going forth. I mentioned the miraculous Buddha and the historicist Buddha, and this is quite a complex subject, but briefly, when historicism took over, you can no longer have that kind of picture as well. And this is a part of the localization. Wherever Buddhism traveled, the Buddha had to settle down and take on the costume and customs of the place. So in China, the Buddha is Chinese and dressed in Chinese robes and staying in Chinese pavilions, and everyone else too. And in Tibet, the Buddha is Indo-Tibetan anyway, and so on. And the costumes always follow the prevailing styles of the places to which the Buddha goes.